Yeah, it's a great idea, and I have been thinking about it seriously. But anything I'm going to say, I'm hypothesizing because the science in both of these two products is so revolutionary and so new. Hydrogen's just happening now, really, on a big scale. But we started a few years ago with a machine. And the H-fill has been evolving until where just the last few years, couple of years, it's become to the point where it has been so decisively decided on what works that we could build the H-fill. And so we went out and built the H-fill ahead of virtually everyone else in the industry, and we took a look at it as a whole, and that's an important thing to do because the whole purpose of the H-pill is to support the regeneration and restoration of the stem cells. For those of you that don't know, stem cells are the cells that produce all of the replacement cells throughout all of our body. And we have about 220 types of stem cells throughout our body. It does everything from hair to toes and toenails, all the way in between. So over a period of time, those wear out. And it's just like your car engine. And they take in oxygen, they take in glucose, which is a fuel like gasoline, and they actually ignite it right within the stem cells, ignite it as the replacement cells do right inside itself. And out of that energy that comes from it, lots of tremendous things can happen through all parts of your body. Now remember, I'm talking hypothetically here because none of these statements have been evaluated by the FDA, and quite frankly, I think it'll be a long time before they were, because people aren't looking at this thing as a whole. They're looking at it as a quick fix and a way to make money fast, and I'll give you a couple of illustrations on it here shortly. But anyway, if a stem cell, which has so many different components in it, they're called organella. Nucleus is a big one and has organella within it. That's where most of them are. So if you're exploding all this oxygen in the cell, it takes O2 and makes O1 out of it. O1 is very dangerous because it wants to pair. And so as a consequence, you get about 500,000 hits every day in your cells, in a cell. So that's oxidative hits. So your body produces antioxidants to neutralize those, but unfortunately, especially with all the toxins in our environment too now, it can't keep up with it. And then the stem cells start getting oxidized, and they start deteriorating, just like steel rust. And it's the same process, only biological. And with that is that as it decays, it builds up a lot of cellular garbage because it's not efficient, and they start blocking all of the not all, but nutrients and oxygen from getting in and waste from getting out, and that old cell is getting sick. And to make it worse, when you split glucose, you have a glucose oxide, and it bonds right to the proteins that are, it bonds to proteins. So there are proteins throughout all the organella in the cell, and when it bonds to them, it's like molasses. And so they're supposed to be flexible and responsive, and they can't be. And over a period of time, they go from sticky to hard. And when they go hard, then it's like plaque on your teeth, only it's plaque over the organella, and the proteins are involved with it. And the cell is full of garbage, and the functionality of the cell has been deteriorated, and that's what age is all about. Now, the industry is hardly there yet. They're just starting to poke their head out a little bit, producing some products to create what they call, at Harvard Medical School, they call it the molecule, the immortality molecule. And so that's quite a statement, isn't it? And they believe that with this one, they don't know what it can do, but it could lead you maybe into hundreds of years of lifespan. Think of that. Now, if you're young enough, somebody as old as DW's got probably 5 best left. But for the rest of us, well, maybe 10. You're on our product. So anyway, we doubled your lifespan. So anyway, with that, they realized that, and this is just because the internal operating mechanisms of the cell are so complex, but science doubles every 5 years the knowledge, and so they have every 5 years it's doubled from where it was, and it doubles again, until we now can look at many, if not most, of the biological things that are going on within the cell and find out what the compounds actually are and how they are created and how they come together within the stem cell so that a stem cell can build a new cell and then divide and it becomes a replacement cell. Replacement cell is identical to the stem cell except it doesn't have telomeres. Telomeres are tips on chromosomes like the tip on your shoelace. And the number of telomeres that you have determine how often your cell duplicates. So as telomeres are given up, they are to form a new cell. They are lost when that cell divides and goes off, and it can be like your cells in your stomach. 4, 5, 6 days, they're replaced because the acidity is so great. And then you get other places like heart, probably go 3 years. Some may be longer than that. Brain is very questionable because of its tremendous oxidation that goes on there for all those biological processes. So I'm just showing the complexity of it to a degree. And so when you realize that we've got to do some things if we want to grow older and live longer. I don't want to just grow older. I don't want to grow older. I want to live longer. That's my philosophy. Don't grow old, live longer, and grow younger. And that's the theory that we base these products on, based upon the science of the ingredients. But we can't necessarily make all of these claims on for the age pill, even for hydrogen. However, aging is not a disease. And when you think about it, a lot of people think it is. No, disease comes from aging. So aging is not a disease, but as you age, then you become vulnerable to the disease, and at some point your body is deteriorated enough that happens, and then whatever 1, 2, 3, 4 systems, how many are broken down, your health declines, and the disease that's going to kill you kicks in, and you die of a disease, but not of old age, because actually if you're 85, which is about the average lifespan, now if you're 85, you're middle age, and that's because of our genetic code, which has been, the human genome has been mapped, and they know it has the potential for you to live to be twice that old. Now that's just if all things are as they were, but because of the aging, all of this happens. So if we can end aging, that's a major step forward. And this is the death of aging we're talking about with the age pill. Because unlike other products that try to create NAD, the immortality pill or molecule, with precursors, you do things that the stem cells or regular cells takes in nutrients, and then they go through a process, and out of that they create their own NAD. That's the way we are from conception all the way through to death. But as they produce NAD, you have all this oxidation going on, and it damages the mitochondria where the energy is created, and so it becomes in effect, or starts diminishing, and then it starts leaking very dangerous oxidative stress molecules, and so it's a reactive oxidative species, ROS, they call that. So as that happens, the mitochondria, which produces the energy, is going down, and the NAD, because of all the cellular garbage and the plaque that's within it and the oxidation, its own ability to be produced goes down. And the consequence of that is aging is like a slippery slide. The further you go, the faster you go on it. And so you grew to, when you're about 18 or 20, you're grown. After that, you start losing the activity of your stem cells. And they deteriorate pretty significantly. From by age 30, you've lost somewhere close to 20% of the functionality of your stem cells. Now that's quite a lot to say, but by the time you're 40, you've lost twice that. You're down to 40%. By the time, you've actually lost 40%. And by the time you're 60, you're down to about 5% or less with it. 70s is just a dribble, not hardly calculable. But as that happens, the cells, of course, produce their replacement cells, and things are deteriorating in the body. We don't make as many muscle cells as when we were young. So consequently, they're losing more than we're producing. We don't make as many brain cells as we did when we were young. Consequently, we're losing more than we're rebuilding. And it happens with all the different organs, eyesight, liver, lung, all of our organs, tissues, and skin, especially because it has tremendous oxidative damage from visible light. And so with all of that, you have a pretty worn out, deteriorated stem cell. But what happens if you can increase the NAD? Then the NAD creates in the mitochondria, if you have more NAD, you have more mitochondrial activity, and that converts out to it releases hydrogen. So this is the key to what we're tying it into today. It releases hydrogen, and hydrogen is converted into electrical energy. Now, energy can be changed from any form to another. Einstein said that. You can change energy, but you can never destroy it or lose it. None is lost. It just changes the form that it's in. But the energy is always constant. So as that's happening, of course, as the even if you produce a lot more NAD, it'll increase the mitochondria activity, but if it's, let's say it's 50% and it increases it up to 75%, that still means you're losing cells and that type of thing. So in the ways that they're doing things with precursor ingredients that can create NAD plus at the research centers, they're not looking at the horizon. And what's happening is, they can produce more NAD, and in younger people it's very, very effective, and it might keep you really from almost alone from getting old with this. Older people are in bad shape, so we're going to pick it up from where they're at, see if we can get producing more new cells than old cells, and that's called regeneration. So the other factor is ending the decay, and that's what aging is. It's decay and degeneration. So antioxidants neutralize the decay because it's due to oxidative stress, as they call it. And so as a consequence of that, the most powerful antioxidant in the universe is hydrogen. And so, it's the smallest atom and the smallest molecule, so it's unstoppable. It can go through anything, including sheer lead or gold, which is even more dense. With it, can't be contained. It's slower getting through some of those. And if you have an open container, it gases off because it's lighter than water. But if you have a sealed container, then depending on the material that's around it, be it plastic, it can work for a while, half an hour, perhaps, unless you refrigerate it, and then you can hold for longer. But as you get into things like metal, especially if there's a coated aluminum, so you don't get aluminum in it, then that seems to have an electronic pathway or method that blocks that from happening. And so as this starts to occur, then our antioxidants are going down. So if you think about infusing hydrogen just for this one purpose alone, you can put it through every single cell in your body. And as that happens, what are you going to have? You're going to be neutralizing most of the things that cause decay. So here we have that, and then it goes through, and it's just not an antioxidant. You need to look on my Facebook and print the article of 27 uses of hydrogen, and they're very effective uses, all proven by science. This isn't some hypothesis that someone has thought up. It is really the basis of scientific evidence, and it was put out by Self-Hacked, and which is an independent source, and they just went through and talked about because it's such an emerging thing, but so new that no one's really much into it. So as a consequence, they said, here's 27 very important things that hydrogen, H2, can do. And it goes through and it talks about how it supports, and you have to say supports, that's the key word, supports the brain, and it'll tell you about certain conditions, supports the brain's natural mechanisms. So does the H pill support the body's natural mechanisms, because our H pill isn't built just on producing NAD plus, that's the term for it. The plus is actually a hydrogen molecule, so it's NAD with a plus at the top, and that's a hydrogen molecule. So as that becomes depleted and it drops the hydrogen off, then it's empty and it gets recycled or gets dumped. But with hydrogen in your system, we think, this is what we theorize, that it will add the hydrogen molecule electron back to the NAD and it'll recycle it. And how many times you can recycle it, we don't know. The science isn't that advanced, but the biochemistry of it shows that that's what should happen with it, and we believe it does, and we're seeing it self-evident in people as it's happening. So then the other part that people aren't doing, this is there's a few competitors, and they're using precursors that most of it's destroyed in the stomach. It doesn't even get into the small intestine, about half of it. And as a consequence, you are not producing as much NAD as the potential of what you ingested is. We have a very high concentration that we put in, and we protect it from gastric attack in the stomach, so that we think most all of it goes through the system. In fact, is virtually all of it, in our opinion, goes through the stomach into the small intestine to where it can support high levels of NAD plus in theory. So I have to say in theory, because you never know. The regulations are such, you have to be careful the way you say it. The product can do tremendous things. The ingredients can do tremendous things. But if you make a statement on the product that's based upon what the ingredients can do, the FDA says that's not legal, that's a drug claim, you need to go through testing. Then you can make the statement. Well, testing's 15 years or so and costs about $2 billion to get a new drug approval. So you see why pharmaceuticals are so expensive. But also, it makes it impossible. Do you want to wait 15 years for the science to be approved so you can say it? So that's why we say supports, enhances, things like this. But then you, fortunately, because of DSHEA, that's the Dietary Supplemental Health Education Act, you can self-educate yourself and others. It's legal to do by showing people copies of magazine articles or that's on the internet or any type of clinical studies. And sure, some of these clinical studies are difficult to understand. If you go through them, and I publish them because I'm required to publish them in their entirety. It's the way the law got passed, because Big Pharma was just railing about it because they wanted all nutritional supplements, this was in the 1990s, to be regulated as drugs and under their production and control. And so a huge outcry came, the biggest outcry and protest they've ever had in the history of Congress. And DSHEA, thanks to Orrin Hatch here from Utah and Harkin from, I believe, Iowa, between those two, a Democrat and Republican, they came together. This is when they could work together, and they created DSHEA. And the people have the right to know, choose, and use products that they think is good for them, and it shouldn't be suppressed from them. So DSHEA allows you to know it, but to placate Big Pharma, the FDA's come in. It isn't even placating. The Big Pharma is what really makes the FDA what it is, because of the tremendous work that goes on, and so as a consequence, they want to do everything within their power to make the Big Pharma so that it's very profitable. And that's why these dang pharmaceuticals have gotten so out of hand in price, because they're not really being regulated. And I took some Eliquis because I had had a hematoma, and I took some Eliquis to thin my blood, And so with that, I went in and got the prescription. Now, insurance covered most of it, but it was $580, I think. $580, almost $600 for a 30-day supply. Now, I have a deductible, but I paid $120 on the deductible. Guess what Eliquis costs to make? Just if you have the ingredients that make up Eliquis, it doesn't cost $1 to make that bottle. Now, the bottle will cost more than what's in it. And so all of this comes from heavy regulation. This is one thing that government, at least one of the parties, is really trying to reduce the regulation so that people can have more freedom. And why should they be able to take it away from us? So those are things to consider. I'm just philosophizing a little bit here, and I'll come back to the point. So here we have a product that puts more of the precursors to NAD into the small intestine, in our opinion. And out of that, you look at what companies are putting out. There's a few putting out companies, and they're going from about 100 milligrams to 250 is the tops I've seen in precursors, where actually the maximum research shows that from some of the major institutions that 1,000 gives you about 100% of the potential. But because those precursors are so expensive, and because the companies are more product-oriented than they are product sales-oriented than they are results-oriented, you'll get a little effect. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. But if you have 100 milligrams and you lose 50% of it when it goes through, you got 50. How about if you put 1,000 milligrams through? And that's the thing we're doing. And the other two parts of it, we can, they're bought each cell in the body, stem cells and regular replacement cells, have the cellular garbage, and they have a mechanism to remove it, which wears out. And so we have ingredients to support those natural systems to excrete that cellular waste. And we're draining the swamp, literally, there. And so that can clean up the cell, in theory. And so then we look at the glycation, the plaque that's in it, this filming, coating, and the cellular waste is where many of the toxins are, too. And so, but glycation that is caramelized on the proteins, there's a system there of ingredients to support the cell system to remove the glycation. So this is where our product differs significantly from others. While others use a little bit, 100 is a blip. That's where you really start getting an effect if you can get 100 through to the body. But if you put 100 in your stomach, you're not doing it. So 100 is on the chart, is at the bottom, but it shows effect at that point, which means you probably got to put 200 milligrams in it to get 100 milligrams through to the system. Now, the other thing is the chart goes up, and up dramatically, and at the top is 1,000. So where we're at, we have, we calculated it. Now, I haven't tested it, of course, because we'll do some testing on this, but we know how it works, and we have scientists, and I work with research and development companies, so we can analyze these. And in theory, we are producing, and in reality, I believe, in our products, we're producing products that have 1,000 milligram that gets through your lower intestine. Then you clean up the cells, then you drain the cellular garbage and remove the glycation. What have you got? Now you've got something that where NAD can really go through, and what it does is repairs the cell and creates electrical energy. Now, if you telomeres along, it'll duplicate fast, and as it does, but every time it duplicates, you lose telomeres. So you need a supplement that can keep your telomeres ahead of your stem cell, so it's always operating at maximum efficiency. And that has been learned how to do, and we've done that, and we've got to support those processes. It's a matter of precursor support again, but we can support long telomeres. And we do that in two products. The very best one is TSX, and it does it remarkably well and fast. Second one is in brain vitality, and it puts out a reasonable amount, which should keep you ahead of wherever you're at, and you'll slowly be going up, but you'll be going up rather than going down. TSX just takes you, accelerates you up very fast. So you have both of them. But shouldn't you use brain vitality? It's got all of these other things in it. Yes. Should you use TSX? I guess if you wanted accelerated youth regeneration, the potential of that from what can happen, yeah, that's the choice. So that really explains most about the stem cell. But now their interaction with hydrogen is quite complex. And if you think about it, hydrogen comes in from the sun. The sun is helium and hydrogen, and it's what built the universe. About 80% of the universe is built out of the neutrons from hydrogen molecules fused together to form the basic elements. Gold is made out of neutrons from hydrogen, as an example. There's 800 and some of them that are in it, but and so they base the molecular weight or the size of a molecule upon hydrogen, which is the smallest atom. And so it has a molecular weight of 1. And if you have something that has a molecular weight of 800, it can't retard it. It might go through slower, but they can't retard it. It goes everywhere. And that's the point. It goes everywhere in your body. So when you take a drink of diatomic hydrogen water, we think it gives you the potential to regenerate your body at a tremendous rate, because with our water machines, they're about 1 ppm and 0 to 1.5, but 0.05% or ppm. I mean, that's half of 1% ppm. With that, what that does is creates an effect, and the higher you get, when you get to 100, it's more of an effect with it because you're producing more hydrogen. But if you max out at 1.0 and 1.5, you have a very healthy dose of it. But if you want extreme regeneration support, then you should use the H2 stick, because I built this based upon the science that I found, and it's been one difficult thing to get approved in other countries. It's getting it approved is akin to something in biblical proportions, I tell people, because what everyone and all of the consultants said in the EU and down into Australia, New Zealand, and Japan, we have been able to, because we have the desire to make extraordinarily powerful, effective products, we have the ability we found the ability. I would not take no for an answer. And even my people here, it can't be done. Don't tell me that. There's other ways here. And thank goodness God has blessed me with a very creative mind. I think laterally as well as strongly in the sciences, but lateral thinking too, so I can put together all the scenarios, and it just happens. It's just, I'm kind of like Papa. I am what I am because that's what I am. And I know that's for the benefit of other people. So I respect God for and thank Him for the blessings He's given me. But out of that, faith without works is dead. So I want to get a lot of works out. And as a consequence, when you take a very large dose of diatomic hydrogen, you have enormous effects in so many ways. And with this powder that we have in the sachet, if you put it in where the other is in our testing, and we don't know how far it will go depending on time, you should let it sit for at least 5 minutes. 20 minutes is probably really good. Well, 5 is good, and 10 is better, and 15 better, and 20 is we thought was at the tops, and we've been testing it, the amount of hydrogen, and we're finding we're coming out with 20 ppm. Now compare that with 0.5 ppm is very healthy. 1.5 or 1.0 ppm is very healthy, and here you're looking at something go 15 or 20 on it. So that's its potential. And of course, the longer it goes, but you should do it with no headspace because it gases off in the liquid, and I think most of you know that. And so you want to dump it in. I usually would dump it In a bottle, it's hard to, but you might drain the water down a little bit, dump it in, because it immediately starts reacting, releasing hydrogen and oxygen. And so then if you put it in, it'll go down to the bottom and you fill it up the top. Then you seal it, and then you shake it up a little bit and let it sit there, and then just let it time click away. And 10 or 20 minutes later, my recommendation, you take it and you have a really a supercharged system, because of the immense amount of hydrogen that it has in it and its ability to go everywhere. But it just doesn't go into the cells as 1 ppm. It goes into the cells as 10 ppm, and it's a lot more than 10 times greater. I can guarantee you that. The effects are enormous. So we've got it approved in these, believe it or not, and you don't know how the approval process, but we got it approved in these other companies or countries, and so we're pretty excited about it. Now we're improving the flavor in it, so you'll see it change in a production when we exhaust our stock, which we almost have. And in fact, as we told you at first we could produce 5,000 boxes, and they sold so hot here in the United States and in Canada, and some people ordering from out of the United States that wanted to get it shipped over to them, even if it was at the expense was much greater. But out of that, we just decided you got to grow where you're planted, and we got it approved here in the United States. So we didn't ship to the other countries because we needed it here. And I'm dang glad we took that approach, because I had 2,000 extras set for them. I've been able to infuse that into the U.S. and Canada market. And now our raw materials, this isn't something you just order and it's there. These things are specially made, and they're made to a certain purity and effect, and we have to contract it to be done. So it isn't like saying, give me some of aloe vera or different compounds like that, type 2 collagen, whatever you want, curcuminoids. All those things are easily available and readily available, but these aren't. So these companies are a little shocked at the volumes we're asking to produce, but they're doing it, but it takes a long time, and they have a big business in making some of these and making exotic ingredients. And so they make this for us, and then we have to get the production up, and they have time schedules to produce and things like that. And so we've forward planned this so that we hope we can keep with it. Now today, we sent out Australia and the EU, because we've been able to build enough, get enough materials in to do it. And we think the United States will carry to our next production run. So we had some left. We got some ingredients left yet, and we were able to get some of them there. So we made a smaller batch so that we could ship off to Europe and down into Australia and New Zealand with it. So we've done our best to do it, and we've also got a very special price on it, $29.95. That's just an introductory price, and what that means is this is a recruiting incentive bonus for you. You need to get out and really recruit people. You can recruit them. They'll buy that all day for $29.95, but and at the price we're going to have when it's over, yeah, people will buy it, but it's not as enticing as $29.95 is. But it's not much more than a break even for us at that price. However, you have, and I deliberately did this in spite of all of my accounting departments here that were telling me you can't make it and sell it for that kind of price. It's not feasible within the program. I said, I know, but you know, this and the H-pill are the two greatest discoveries in human health. And with the H-pill, you can see results happening. You feel energy, most people, within a week or two with it, and then you see things happening. I'm seeing a lot happening with me. My hair color is really coming back. My eyebrows, which are almost getting white now, are almost all dark again. Those are just some indications. Skin quality has improved, all that. But, and of course, energy levels have gone up. I'm just, I'm unstoppable because I have these supplements that just build so much energy in me, I don't wind down. And then when you recharge it with hydrogen to do everything it does and to recharge the molecules and provide the electrons that are converted into electrical energy, that is hot. And so we've got these two products working together, and that's the correlation between the two of them. So I know I've talked fast, and I've talked for 40 minutes or so, 38 minutes, I guess, on it. But you can see this is not a simple thing, but it is a simple thing to take. If aging is only decay and degeneration, and we end the decay and we increase the regeneration, it is impossible. If you speak Spanish, it's imposible. It's impossible for it not to grow you younger, in my opinion. Now, and I think in all the tests, animals tests that they have done, they're doing human tests now on it, and it's showing the same types of results on virtually 100% of any animal testing and human testing that they are doing right now. So that is really remarkable. But we're going to do a couple more things with the age pill, and you'll see it coming out, I don't know when, because we have a big demand, so we're building a lot. But the next formulations that we do are going to have a couple of real big surprises for you. I mean, really big ones. And so look forward to even more. I mean, how better can it get than 1,000 milligrams? Well, you'll find out, and it will shock you out of your gourd if you got one. Now, that's all I'm going to say covering those, but this is the extraordinary opportunity of your lifetime. If you blow this one, you've missed the train, and it's off on the road to success. So you need to get not just this. If you just want to use it for yourself, that's why you're in. You want to get a discount by being a distributor. Okay, we need you, and we want that kind of thing, and it supports upline checks. But for those of you that want to have health, wealth, and happiness, we have the track to do it with our compensation plan, and we have these dynamic two products along with Sisel Rip. Look where you're at there with that brain vitality. TSX, Eternity is extraordinary. I've been publishing some ingredients on our studies on ingredients in the resveratrol in Eternity, and there's more to it than that. But spectacular. These are A-plus products, and with Case of the Age Pill and the hydrogen sticks, I think they're A++. They're right off the charts. So we have them. They're reasonably priced. And how much money do you think you're going to spend on your health when you're 60 or 70 or 80? It's going to drain all your resources, and it's really a theft of your economic resources for the pharmaceutical and the legal industries. And the government taxing. They will drain you dry. So, yeah, we need government reform. There's no doubt about that. But the other thing is, if you're not sick, you don't have to go see the doctor, and that's why they're so, in my opinion, so diametrically opposed to these types of supplements, because about half the synthetic molecules that they develop, which are not the same as the molecule they tested, but they emit the same effect, have serious side effects with them. What the effects are positive side effects with these, because our body assimilates them and uses them naturally, and they're God-given. That's what Congress said, and I agree. That's what the law is. So nobody can patent them. So here we've got it, and here we're doing it. And is there another company like Sisel on the horizon? I don't think so. I'm going to take one more thing and tell you, just when you thought it was about over, it's about over. But I had an article, and I've seen this before, it got sent to me, and I was kind of keeping it suppressed, but it said, Mayo Clinic may be onto the fountain of youth. Immediately I thought it was NAD+, that they were doing, which is a lot of, and of course, the Mayo Clinic is famous for research. And so they came on, and what they found out is that a system called senolytics is one where you can replace stem cells that are dormant. And senescent stem cells are very dangerous because they emit toxins because they want, actually we think it's because they want the immune system to come in and kill them, but the immune system is so deteriorated with age and all of that, we can regenerate the immune system, but senolytics have the ability to go in and support the body's natural processes of what they call apoptosis to remove it. And so here they're talking about senolytics, and they're talking about the medicines that they're trying to, they're researching, they're trying to do to make these senolytic drugs, and they're selective to, as they say in their article, to kill senescent cells. And they said we found a number of different models and which they're testing with it. It kind of surprised me because, you know what? They're testing to find out something that will do it. I already got it. It's just not in your product yet, but I probably shouldn't reveal it so quick. But it'll be coming out really fairly quick with this. And can you imagine if your stem cells, let's just theorize for a minute, if your stem cells were 50% or 75% inactive, and you could remove all of those, and they have a bud they're attached to, and if you could remove all of those by supporting the body's natural processes to do that, so these are precursors to doing it. If you can do that, then you've lost 50 or 75% of your stem cells, which were causing damage. That's pretty significant, isn't it? But what happens when you do that is what scientists are saying, that bud will produce a new stem cell, a young stem cell. So you're there. And so if you do that and you're supporting them with NAD plus and diatomic hydrogen water, what are you going to have? You know what we're going to have is when the distributors from all the other MLM companies are dead, we're going to be rich and famous and living a young lifestyle. That's what we have. These companies won't do this kind of stuff. And here they are. Mayo Clinic figured out senolytics. Well, it's been looked at for a while. I figured out how to do it already with a natural ingredient and precursor, natural ingredient, which has huge clinical studies to back it up. So we're going to do that and go even further, but I daren't tell you about where we're going further because it's a very technical legal issue with the FDA that we've found the way around it, and what it will do is absolutely amazing too in a different aspect. But I'll just leave you hanging with that one. So now here I've gone about 45 minutes, but I expect to be on 15. You can't stop me when I get on, unfortunately. But I just am so impassioned with this. And I want to tell you, you need to get impassioned. You need to get your rear in gear. This is the time to go. Don't sit around and watch it happen because it's going to go right past you. If you want to build a future, this is the way. Get out and talk to people. Because who has anything like the age pill? Nobody. Who has anything like H2? Nobody. Who has anything like the telomere products that we have in TSX? Only one company, and they're selling it for $500 or $600 a month with it. And ours is $120, or you can buy it for less than that if you buy it in volume. So we've got all that. Who has anything like Sisel Rip, build muscles without exercise? That's stunning with that. So you see all of these different products and things we have. You have a gold mine, and you have a diamond mine, you have a ruby mine. You have all of these mines right in front of you that you can harvest. And what you've got to do is just take them to the buyers, the people that want to end aging and grow younger, the people that want to change their life so they can have the lifestyle they want, and they don't have medicine and the legal system stealing their wealth as they get old, so they have no one to pass it on to. And in fact, I like. A lot of people are against this, that are especially big companies. But I like what President Trump is saying about eliminating the estate tax. I mean, we built it, we paid for it, and we paid taxes on what built our estate, and then we die, and the government wants to come in and take half. That's the feds, and the state wants to come in and take some. And he's talking about trying to do that. But people that are into building their politics on entitlements given to people, then they're against that because they don't want that income stream. But why should that? They want it in taxes. They don't want to lose it. So why should we have to do it? We already paid taxes on the money we have, and we worked hard for our kids and for ourselves, and want to have the lifestyle we have. So there's a lot of things going on right now, and of course you can't follow all of them. I understand that. I'm following a lot, but what I'm trying to do is giving you a track to run on so that you can run away from the lifestyle. I mean, you might have a good lifestyle right now. Okay, most of us are fairly comfortable, but almost no one is really pleased with the lifestyle they have. It's just most won't do anything about it, but about 25% of the people will, and they're the builders, and they sell to the ones that aren't and to other builders, and so we have a huge chance here. We could have, literally, I was a $1 billion a year company, and I had 750,000 to 1 million distributors in my previous company. I think we're going to have tens of millions here. I had over 1,000 people I estimated that were making that had become millionaires and multimillionaires in it. One was here a couple of years ago and made $32 million as a distributor in my previous company, and come and joined us. And so this compensation plan is better. The products were the best state of the art at that time from my other company. These are far ahead. They're light years. They're into warp drive, pulling away from everything that's out there. We're ahead of medicine in this thing. Look what Mayo Clinic is looking at and trying to develop a drug. Good, okay, they can. I'm sure they could probably do that, but it's going to take 10 or 15 years to get that done. It's going to be enormously expensive. Do you want to wait, or would you like to do it on the cheap? Perhaps not the right term, but like to do it at a very reasonable price. So that's the way we are, and that's what we're going to do. But we all do it for you. You're the most important component. So if you're not motivated and you're not trying to recruit anybody every day, then you're really not with it. You should be constantly recruiting, and then it goes on to training and developing your distributor force, and of course doing some retailing. But the real recruiting should be in about 80% of your time recruiting, about 20% training and developing the people that are there. And you work with them until they're successful, or if they're not willing to do it, okay, some people will, some people won't. So what? Who's next? This is a numbers game, and we've got the products and the compensation to go with it, and we can do what no company, I believe, has ever done before in health, happiness, and wealth creation. And I have totally dedicated my life and all of my resources and time to making just all of that possible for you. But if you don't do it, then it won't get done. But if somebody else is going to do it, and they're going to have abundance like they've never dreamed possible. I've taken people from living in little apartments and 20, 30-year-old cars they're driving, living on retirement, just barely getting by, don't even own the place they live in, and have made, some of them have become multimillionaires in this. And so if you go from there, and older, I had two people from Minneapolis, St. Paul. It was 72 and 74, and they were in absolute poverty because their son had cancer, and they spent all the money they had to try and save him, which they didn't. And with that, she was Beverly was her name, and she was an accountant, a part-time accountant, and he was a piano tuner, and that was their lifestyle. They built a mansion after they had got their business built up. We gave them a new car to drive, and they were driving new cars. They had a mansion. They had an income stream that was where they had made. They were up. I don't know exactly where they were, but they were probably making $500,000 to maybe $1 million a year on top of this. And that opportunity is there for those that will do it. Now, not everyone will, but no matter where you're at, you're going to be a lot better off. And isn't health your greatest asset? And so if you don't protect that, then it's all for nothing. You'll lose everything you have anyway. And so why not take the other road? Why not get your rear in gear and accelerate your growth so that you can build an empire that is yours, that will never be taken away, and you have a company unlike any other in the world that is totally dedicated to your success. If I was just looking for wealth and retirement, I've got all that. I don't care about that now except to maintain it. What I want to do is give you the same opportunity to do it, and I darn well believe, I know that we have it. It's just for you to do. So apologize, I'm getting close to 50 minutes or so now. But I think you can, if I'm not wired out of my gourd, then something would be wrong with me. If you're not wired out of your gourd, maybe you ought to be introspective too. But I am so super excited and so dedicated, and I love making these discoveries, and I love making improvements, and I like paying big commissions and all that, because we make enough profit to keep the company really going, but we want to pass the rest of it on to you. And the more you do, the more you'll have, the better you'll get. That's the way this system works. So that's my message for this morning. I apologize for the length of time that I took to give it. I just get a little carried away sometimes because I'm cranked out of my gourd. Back to you, DW.